Grey November, I've been down since July. Truer words have never been spoken. Hello, my name is Freyr. I'm your favorite local forest gremlin, a Polish sociology student, and a pop culture enthusiast. And welcome to my little corner of the internet where I discuss every form of popular media that interests me, whether that's albums, the Eurovision Song Contest, or different TV shows I'm obsessed with. And today I am here to talk about possibly the best album of all time. Evermore is the 9th studio album from Taylor Swift, and I think it was that album that kind of fully finished, I'd say, my transformation into a Swiftie when I heard it. Like Folklore was right there when I heard it, but then Evermore hit, and I was just like, okay, I don't think I have a choice in the matter anymore. Also, quick disclaimer, this video has nothing to do with the sudden wave of people that are trying to attribute some of the best work of Taylor's career to her relationship with Joe Alwyn. No, I think that's pretty stupid. I'm just here to talk about one of my favorite albums of all time, and it has nothing to do with the relationship that she was in. This is an album that, like, you always know it's great, but then that time of the year rolls around where it's like autumn, going into winter, everything becomes gray, leaves start falling, days start becoming shorter, and suddenly it starts hitting in a totally different way. Also, I recently decided to crown this album as my favorite Taylor Swift album after having Folklore in that spot for actual years, and that was fully just because of one little walk into the forest with my dog, Ronia, where I listened to this album in full, and I felt like I was accidentally entering heaven. It was insane, like genuinely like a religious experience. This album was released a couple months after Folklore, and it's known to be Folklore's ugly stepsister, which I think that comparison wouldn't be made as much if Taylor only acknowledged this album a little bit more. Like, that's pretty much why this video is called what it's called, because hello, we are waiting for the Evermore Long Pond Studio sessions. We've been waiting for years, and some people are fixated on Karma, the lost album, or other things, and waiting for them to come because somewhere eventually they might. Meanwhile, I am here sitting in the trenches waiting for Evermore Long Pond Studio session.
I'm so happy! I'm very unhappy!
But honestly, because Evermore is the less popular sibling, I think that's kind of one of the reasons why it's my favorite. But also the aesthetic of it just speaks to me so much. I love autumn. I am a jesieniara through and through. This is for the Polish people watching, if there are any. This album is like sitting next to a window in cold October, watching the leaves fall, sipping on tea, and reflecting on life, being slightly, I would say, miserable, but also living in your own little fantasy world whilst, raindrops fall. This album has just such a clear aesthetic to it that you see not only because of the promotional images or the cover or whatever, but also through the music, and it just works so well. I feel like it touches me on a way deeper level than some of the other aesthetics I've seen from her or from other artists. And then also, again, going back to the aesthetic of it all, when compared to Folklore, Evermore is twice as witchy in my opinion, and I love witches. Witches are very, very cool. And I mean, the main reason why I like this album so much is the music. And also, it's the fact that practically the majority of this album is very, very sad. And what can I say? I just love sad music. Evermore has a lot of these recurring themes of death, closure, depression, and moving on. And they make this album feel so much more vulnerable and also personal. This is one of those albums that, of course, we are told that this is more so from a storytelling perspective of Taylor's, but the more you go into her career and with the stuff that we've seen since Evermore, Midnights and Tortured Poets specifically, it doesn't feel like it's just storytelling anymore. And maybe back in the day it was, but I wouldn't say it's now. A lot of these songs you could probably attribute to it just being a story in Taylor's head But now it's not just a story. I think that what Folklore and Evermore specifically, out of all of her albums, do very well is that they almost feel cerebral. Those songs are so beautiful on like an instrumental, vocal, lyrical level, but when you actually listen to them, specifically with like headphones on, it feels like they're actively doing something to your brain. And it's you're not only listening to it with your ears, you're also listening to it with your own like imagination. Like each of these songs leaves a very, very clear and very beautiful and deep image in your head. These albums are not just musical projects, they are full body experiences. And I think that's something that you see very rarely in music, but when you see it, it's everything. And I also think Evermore specifically is one of those albums that is very, very interesting to look back on. Now having the context of Midnights, Tortured Poets, and also The Life of a Showgirl, I think it changes the meaning of some of the songs slightly, and it gives a new lens through which we can interpret these songs. And I think that's very interesting to like include that context here. So we're gonna do that as well. Today, I wanna explore the world of Evermore. I wanna talk about each of the songs on the standard edition, analyze their melodies, their lyrics, the visions of them, just talk about all of it. And I am so excited to do so. But before we get into it, I would quickly like to remind you to please subscribe to my channel. You can also like the video, you can comment down below, you can share it around with your friends, and you can also follow me on all of my other socials, which are listed in the description box below, which include Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and a few others. I have recently started doing more and more videos about like pop culture and music specifically. Like I did 2 album reactions in a row this month already with Lux by Rosalia and also Everybody Scream by Florence and the Machine. And I've really enjoyed getting myself out there a little bit more with my content. So I'm definitely gonna be doing that more. So if you have any videos that you would also like to see from me regarding music or pop culture just in general, please leave your suggestions in the comments below as well. But yeah, with all of that being said, let's talk about Willow. Before we get into the actual song though, I think it's worth mentioning that that reggaeton remix of Willow kinda slaps. I think Willow is just a beautiful declaration of love, and also a perfect choice for a single from this album. Like out of all of these songs, I think this one is the most like commercially attractive. I don't really know how to call it. Like it feels like something that could actually do well on like the charts and be understood by the general public. But like the rest of this album, I would struggle picking a single from the rest of it because it's just so like, I don't know, it's so vulnerable. I don't think this album holds many songs that I could see potentially doing well on like charts of different sorts. The only ones that I could potentially think of would be like Nobody No Crime, maybe. Also, this is one of my favorite music videos from Taylor, just in general. It's so magical. And it gives into that witchy aesthetic that I love about Evermore. And also that later went on to inspire the Eras Tour performance, which is one of my favorite performances from the entire tour. That like witchy dance break with the lights was so sick to see in person, and also so sick to see on a big screen when I watched the Eras Tour movie. But when I went to Warsaw Night 3, we actually had like bought a cup of beer because we didn't have like a balloon or anything, and we lit it up with my friend using like a flashlight from one of our phones, and we were just like dancing with it like that. It was so fun. This chord progression might be one of the most addictive things I've ever heard in her discography. It's so whimsical, gorgeous, and carefree, and I think that's what love should feel like. This entire album though is like, it's very soul crushing, so I kind of appreciate there being, you know, a song that opens it all that kind of, you know, doesn't feel overly depressing. You know, that's a nice like little palate cleanser before we get into the real deep shit. I'm like the water when your ship rolled in that night, rough on the surface but you cut through like a knife. This is so fun, especially when you look at songs like Glitch. This love is almost like surprising, coming in during the night, it just took her by surprise. The more that you say, the less I know. Wherever you stray, I follow. I'm begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans. That's my man. This is a beautiful display of like loyalty to this person and wanting to be with them all the time. Also, it does kind of remind me of like the kind of relationship in August where it kind of feels like, you know, wanting to run away with this person. Of course, the relationship in August doesn't really end that well, but I think there's a parallel there to be made. And also that first line, that is me every time I have to do something that is anyhow related to mathematics. And I'm not even joking. Like, I am a sociology student, as I mentioned in the intro, and as I mentioned in every of my intros. And every single year on my course has something to do with statistics. I hate math so much. Like you were a trophy or a champion ring, and there was one prize I'd cheat to win. I love this, especially in the 2025 context of it all, because champion rings, prizes, like these are things you'd want to be proud of, to, you know, show off. And now she finally gets to do that. You know, she's not hiding in the woods with a man who's scared to go outside with her. Also, now she is treated like the prize and she is being showed off by her fiance. Wait for the signal and I'll meet you after dark. Show me the places where the others gave you scars. Now this is an open shut case. I guess I should have known from the look on your face. Every bait and switch was a work of art. This verse is so beautiful. It hints on the like affairish nature of this relationship. It is also clear that both of them have some past experiences that have scarred them, whether it's related to love or not. But now all of that hurt from the past seems like a work of art that was kind of like leading them towards this happiness, towards this fate together. Willow will forever be that girl. Like, it's such a perfect opener to an album, and I think it sets the mood for the rest of the album so perfectly. I think it's just the perfect introduction because it's so whimsical and so like very like carefree, you know, running through the forest with like magic and shit, I don't know. But then, you know, the more you get into the forest, the darker it gets and the magic starts kind of fading and the depression kind of creeps in. I kind of love that Evermore is sort of this like gradual descend into just like depression, although not that gradual, because this song is followed by champagne problems, and I'd call that whiplash because it kind of is. Champagne problems. As devastating songs go, this is definitely one to mention. The story of it is really sad. It's two lovers showing up at one place, one with the plan to propose and the other with the plan to end it all. And I mean, like, what a concept. Like, who thinks of stuff like this? It's the concept of it is so crazy to me, even like years after. Never in my entire life would I have ever thought to write something with this as a topic. It's crazy. The slow destruction of this relationship is very sad to witness, and we don't really know why it all happened. I kind of like the not really full double perspective of this song, because on one hand you have the lover with the plan to end it all kind of narrating the entire thing, but also it's very clear that, you know, she's also showing us the side of the lover that's trying to propose, but she's showing that side through like her lens. It's not necessarily the other side, it's how she sees the other side. So it's not necessarily a double perspective, but I still think it's very interesting, and I don't really think we see that a lot in her songs, and I love that. You had a speech, you're speechless, love slipped beyond your reaches, and I couldn't give a reason, champagne problems. The narrator has trouble talking about why it exactly ended, and sometimes you have trouble like naming that feeling or really understanding it. You just know that it's time to go, which is a deluxe track on this project, by the way. Like, it ties back so well. Probably my favorite part of the song is the bridge, and I think that would be everyone's favorite part of the song, but my honorable mention goes to the little vocal moment that she has before the bridge. That is beautiful, and also hearing that life-changing experience. I love the piano of it all because it feels so somber, but also so like delicate, and it's kind of like peaceful in a way too. Pianos always make me a little sad, no matter how they're used. Like, there's just something about a good ass piano that has the ability to just make me sob. And Champagne Problems has one of those pianos. Like, it's so sad, and it's not really even that like complicated of an instrumental. It's just piano and some add-ons, and it's a full experience. Your Midas touch on the Chevy door, November flush, and your Flanner cure. This dorm was once a madhouse. I made a joke, well, it's made for me. This to me refers back to Gold Rush. They are someone who everyone sort of admires. They are what anyone would want, and that is gold. But she is made for the madhouse, which that ties back to Mad Woman on Folklore. Also love the flannel mention because, of course, it is on the cover. So that's, I love little things like that. How evergreen our group of friends, don't think we'll say that word again, and soon they'll have the nerve to deck the halls that we once walked through. This group of friends, which seemed like she would be in forever, won't last forever because she's leaving it now and won't talk to them anymore. However, these people are going to move on and they will be happy, which will seem weird to her. Like, how can one be happy after something like this? But then again, they don't have her perspective. They don't see things from her perspective, and she can't see things from their perspective. Also, the deck the halls being a like representation of Christmas is very, very interesting to me. Like, I wonder if This the Damn Season somehow connects to this song. I could kind of like see it being like This the Damn Season being like the aftermath of it, the like reunion, I guess. But I don't know if it would make much sense narratively, considering how Champagne Problems ends. And this relationship seems like it's unfixable, really. Sometimes you just don't know the answer till someone's on their knees and asks you. She would have made such a lovely bride. What a shame she's fucked in the head, they said, but you'll find the real thing instead. She'll patch up your tapestry that I shred. She is the loudest woman this town has ever seen. She broke his heart, not expecting to have to. Everyone is gonna console the ex in this situation, and that ex is eventually going to find someone who actually wants to be with them, because she doesn't. I already talked about the Eras Tour performance, but I actually forgot to mention a few of my other favorite things about it. First of all, I love that this song gets an entire moment on stage with that gorgeous piano. I love how they decorated it with like the different like plans almost. And one of my favorite traditions on every show was the Champagne Problems applause, because after singing something like this and playing such a beautiful melody, girl, like, you deserve that 7 minutes of applause. I think that was the record, and I think that was in like LA or somewhere. I don't know which city holds the record for that, or maybe that was like in Italy. I have no idea, but anyway, deserved. This song deserves an entire like hour of applause, in my opinion. It's so phenomenal. This song is the like actual definition of gorgeous. The tempo switches are so incredible. I love how it starts too. It's just so ethereal. I also like that there are different worlds in it, kind of. That intro is almost like a dreamlike scenario. The romantic movie moment where like the love interests lock eyes and they see each other for like the first time and realize that like, oh, this is something more. But then we go into like the reality of it all, which is a little bit more fast paced, I guess. It's a little bit more realistic and kind of shows you the actual tempo, the rhythm of life. And she states that she doesn't like a gold rush. But doesn't she?
Wearing 6-inch heels. Have you ever tried to walk in 6-inch heels, ladies? I mean, I haven't. But I can imagine you might sway a little bit and lean on the walls. So there's that. Who knows?
I'm not gonna lie. Every single time I listen to this song, I kind of cannot help but imagine Uncle Scrooge. Like I think that's just my little thing, because like I loved these comics when I was growing up, and it just kind of, I don't know, rewired my brain in some way. I don't know. What must it be like to grow up that beautiful with your hair falling into place like dominoes? Loki, I get this so hard. Like, how dare you be so gorgeous? And what is it like to be that? At dinner parties, I won't call you out on your contrarian shit. In a coastal town we never found, we'll never see a love as pure as it. Because it fades into the gray of my day-old tea. Because it will never be. She imagines a whole life with this person down to like the nitty gritty details that most people would view as like unimportant, but it's unreal and it fades after a moment. The life in a coastal town and the love as pure as it, like, these lyrics are insane. The instrumentation is impeccable. The vocal is on point. The lyrics are 10 out of 10. And the relatability of this is unfortunately very, very high. Like, if you've ever had a crush on someone, this is exactly how it feels. You have to kind of jump back between, you know, the different visions you have in your head of like a life with them and being in a relationship with them to the reality where like you don't wanna get into the gold rush, but you kind of do. This is kind of how it feels, and I would never like recommend this, really. It's not a fun feeling in my opinion. And I think this song demonstrates that very well, because ultimately delusion is just delusion.
'Tis a damn season, write this down.
This might be one of my favorite songs of all time. And I mean, when it comes to Christmas songs in and of itself, that's just like no competition there, because I love sad Christmas music. Nothing gets me going like sad Christmas music. Like, imagine Merry Christmas, Please Don't Call by the Bleachers. That sort of vibe. I love that type shit. This The Damn Season to me feels like the film The Holdovers, but just like put to music. And I'm talking more so vibe-wise and not necessarily plot-wise, but like, you get it, right? One thing I didn't realize actually until very recently is that this song is meant to be from the perspective of Dorothea, who of course has her own song a little bit later on in the album. And this is the story of her coming back to her hometown after living in a big city and reconnecting with an old friend or an old love of hers. And this is seen in lyrics like, "So I'll go back to LA and the so-called friends who write books about me if I ever make it, and wonder about the only soul who can tell which smiles I'm faking." It's the fakeness of LA compared to the authenticity of this person, and also the place that they live in. It's also clear that she like re-encounters this person without caring much about what they did when she was away. It's kind of like she's giving them a clean slate and she just kind of wants to start over. And that is seen in lyrics such as, "If I wanted to know who you were hanging with while I was gone, I would have asked you." And then we get to probably one of my favorite lyrics of the entire song, and actually of the entire album, which is, "There's an ache in you put there by the ache in me. I've hurt you because I myself have been hurt." It's so, ooh, yeah. "I parked my car right between the Methodist and the school that used to be ours. The holidays linger like bad perfume. You can run, but only so far. I escaped it too. Remember how you watched me leave. But if it's okay with you, it's okay with me." This whole thing kind of gives like a stereotypical Hallmark Christmas film where like a girl comes back to her hometown to like destroy a Christmas tree farm because she works for a corporation of some sort, and somehow she like falls in love with a guy she knew when she was younger, and she suddenly changes and she finds herself again and like escapes from the capitalism of the world. Like, that's kind of what it's giving, but in like a beautiful poetic way, and not necessarily like a 2 stars on Letterboxd way. And I think that is very, very good. And I love that. This song is so good that it actually makes me like physically upset. Like, it sounds so phenomenal. It makes me angry. I want this injected into my veins. This is what I talked about in the intro. This is cerebral. This doesn't just happen in your ears. This is a full vision that comes upon you when you listen to it. And that's why it's one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs of all time. And just in general, one of my favorite songs of all time. I fucking love this song.
And what you tolerated.
Holy shit. Okay, well, I pray a lot. Well, Actually, I don't because I'm agnostic, but I'm manifesting that I never end up in this mindset because no, thank you. This song has an angle of like a more, I'd say, romantic relationship, but I think the message of it can be very easily understood as any kind of relationship where one party feels neglected by the other. And specifically, what I think about here is the relationship between a parent and a child, where the child feels like they're being neglected. You know, they're living with this person, seeking out their validation, but it just never really comes. This song makes me infuriatingly sad. And I would say out of all of the track vibes that we have received from Taylor, I think that this is the saddest. And I stand by that. I think there are some sad songs that she has put as track 5, but this takes the cake in my opinion. And I think why it's the most heartbreaking to me is because I can very clearly imagine this scenario, and I also have seen people who kind of go through that, and I've read stories of people going through that, and it's a very common thing to experience, unfortunately. And I think that's what makes this song so heartbreaking, is because the topic of it is so unfortunately realistic. I wait by the door like I'm just a kid, use my best colors for your portrait, lay the table with the fancy shit, and watch you tolerate it. Like, I see this so clearly. It kind of reminds me of all of these stories from like Reddit where people talk about like their neglectful parents. Sometimes I watch these videos of people going through stories like that from, like, as I said, Reddit, from, I don't know, for example, the Queer Kiwi. I really like her content a lot. And it always makes me very sad to listen to these stories, but to see it in music is a completely different thing. It's just... it's just a new level of heartbreaking that I didn't know these stories could be. And I know that this is meant to be a metaphor for a relationship, but if you take this literally, it's the vision of like a kid trying their best, drawing a drawing of, for example, their parent that is emotionally unavailable, and the parent still ignores them. You know, they're trying their best to be noticed, but it just doesn't work. I love this line also in the context of the Eras Tour performance, of course, where she takes this more literally, where she literally like lays the table with the fancy shit. And I think it displays a lot of the frustration that comes along with this type of relationship, where you want to be noticed to the point that you go up on the table and start like throwing things around, but this person still doesn't care. They just sit there and don't see you. While you were out building other worlds, where was I? Where's that man who threw blankets over my barbed wire? I made you my temple, my mural, my sky. Now I'm begging for footnotes in the story of her life. This bridge is crazy. He used to care for her, helped her get over the traumas of her past, the barbed wire in question, I think, being, you know, the traumas. And she gave him everything in return. But now he's away taking care of other parts of his life that she is not a part of. And he's doing that without much regard for his partner. You know, he's not letting her into that world. She feels isolated from him. You assume I'm fine, but what'd you do if I break free and leave us in ruins? Took this dagger in me and removed it. Gain the weight of you, then lose it. Again, one of my favorite lyrics of all time. Gain the weight of you, then lose it is crazy. This song just hurts my feelings in a way that few other songs do. And I think that's kind of why I love it so much, because it's so heartbreaking, so realistic, but it's put to music in such a just deep and beautiful way that is also so heartbreaking. This is one of those songs that I would call a full body experience, because you cannot just simply listen to Tolerate It and not feel something.
Nobody, no crime, but I ain't letting up until the day
I personally think that Nobody No Crime is one of the craziest songs in Taylor's discography. I think some people would disagree, because we have gotten crazier songs, I think, than Nobody No Crime since, like, I mean, recently we just listened to fucking Wood, which that was an interesting experience to say the least. But Nobody No Crime is like one of the most, I think, shocking songs on first listen. in my opinion, at least. Like, I was gagged when I first listened to it and I realized what we were doing. Like, when people say, oh, Taylor Swift only writes about like love and breakups or her exes or whatever. Meanwhile, Taylor is over here creating a full-on murder mystery featuring the Haim sisters as main characters. And you want to say she doesn't have like lyrical versatility? Like, girl, this song is a full-on fucking fantasy though. It's the country of it all, but also the police sirens in like the beginning and the kind of more menacing way that the Haim sisters sing the lines of like, he did it. Like, you already know what you're getting into. So for this song, we're gonna do things a little bit differently. And instead of like looking at the actual lyrics, we're gonna just sketch out the story of it and talk about all of the characters in it. So we have Esti, who has a husband, right? The husband doesn't have a name. We're gonna name him like, I don't know, what should we name Esti's husband? Like Jerry or something. I think Jerry is a good name for Esti's husband. And Esti is also friends with Taylor. And she tells Taylor that she suspects that Jerry is in an affair with another woman, but she doesn't really know how to prove that. So she's just gonna call him out on that. And then she mysteriously disappears. Taylor grows suspicious and starts talking to the other sisters, which I'm assuming are gonna be named Danielle and Alana, since, you know, we were talking about the Haim sisters. I think that makes sense. She also notices that his truck has brand new tires and his mistress has moved in and sleeps in Esti's bed, meaning that something must have happened to Esti. So she's back talking with Esti's sister, Daniela and Alana, and she decides that she wants to take revenge for Esti because it's time to, you know, take matters into her own hands. So she gets rid of Jerry. She drowns him. She has her boating license that she uses to drown him. And she also clears the scene of the crime so that no one can find him. And after that, no one can really prove anything against her because she has an alibi. She has Esti's sisters, Daniela and Alana, who are going to be like, hey, no, she was with us. Like, it's totally fine, right? She didn't do anything. So instead, the suspicions are going to go over to the mistress. And everybody's going to think that she did it. And she might suspect that Taylor did it, but she has no way of proving that. This is the peakest peak of storytelling in music, and this genuinely feels like a movie. I really, really love how the chorus switches as we go along. Like, first Esti cannot prove anything, then Taylor cannot prove anything, and then nobody else can prove anything to Taylor because Jerry is dead. Like, Taylor is a mastermind, not just in like lyrical sense, but if this was real, like, she got them. And also, I still, like, I think I mentioned that in the beginning, but I love that the Haim sisters are characters in the story. Like, it's just so fucking cute. Well, maybe cute isn't the right word to use for this song specifically, but like, still, you get the gist, right? Like, I love that they are included in this way specifically.
Both of these things can be true. There is happiness.
One thing that I really, really love in music is misleading song titles, and Happiness is one of those because this song is anything but happy. Although, okay, I might be slightly exaggerating, I guess, but still, this is very, very sad. It's about the little glimpses of joy that you found in a relationship that is now dying. It's reflecting on the past and the future, on how you move on and how to go about this relationship now that it's practically dead. Should you celebrate it for what it was, or try to save it, or should you just try to forget it or try to erase it? Like, how do you act after that? This song itself, in like the production aspect, doesn't really do much, and I think that's on purpose. Like, it's very peaceful and it feels like a moment of like reflection, of thinking about that. It almost feels like a therapy session to me. Like, if you've ever been to therapy, to me this is what therapy sounds like. Sonically, it's very, very peaceful. It's just a conversation. Honey, when I'm above the trees, I see it for what it is, but now I'm right down in it. All the years I've given is just shit we're divining up. That's acknowledging the fact that in some time she will be able to look at it all with a more like rational view of things. I guess she'll be above it all, above all of the shit, but it's difficult to do it now when she's going through it. You know, she finds it difficult to look at it from a different perspective. I hope she'll be a beautiful fool who takes my spot next to you. No, I didn't mean that. Sorry, I can't see facts through all my theory. You haven't met the new me yet. It's the back and forth of thoughts, trying to compute it all, behave gracefully, but yet not being really like able to. The last line I always thought was so intriguing, specifically because of the concept of a new me. And the concept of reinvention is something that is very much occurring in Taylor's discography. Like, it happens a lot. And it's also sort of like part of the brand, especially now after the Eras tour. She's not in her new like era emotionally. She will get there one day and will be able to look at this relationship as like a step that led her into this new place that she's in, but she's not able to do that now. No one teaches you what to do when a good man hurts you, and you know you hurt him too. Normally, if he hurt her, it'd be easier to deal with that, because then she could just pass all of the blame on him and just be like, screw you, fuck you, right? But she can't do that, because clearly there is fault on both sides, and she sees that, and it's probably too big for her to ignore. And because that is the case, it's way difficult to deal with like the grief of this relationship when you know that you're partially at fault for the death of it. But now my eyes leak acid rain on the pillow where you used to lay your head. After giving you the best I had, tell me what to give after that. All you want from me now is the green light of forgiveness. That first line might be, again, one of the best things I've ever read in my life. And this is like the 5th time I'm saying that in this video. So like, Evermore Taylor was really just writing some of the best lyrics you will ever see in your life. And we thank her for that. There's a hole in her heart in the shape of him. And the grief makes it bigger. The green light of forgiveness really reminds me of closure, which we're gonna talk about in, you know, the later part of the video. He wants that I forgive you, we can just safely move on. Like, you're good, just go out and do whatever the fuck you want. But she is not fully ready to move on, and she's not ready to give him that closure, or she doesn't want to. One day she might, but right now, no thank you. This song is so complex lyrically. Like, this is one of those that I could just fully write an entire dissertation about. Like, there's so much here, and it's crazy to think that this song apparently was finished only a week before release. Like, what do you mean? Okay, this is where I have to admit that I initially blanked on Dorothea fully when I heard it. Like, I was just like, okay, cute, moving on. And I didn't really spend too much time with it, but after having, listened to it more, it definitely grew on me, and I definitely appreciate it more than I used to. This song is about a girl who left her small town to pursue her dream of a career in a big city. It's also about the same girl who is the narrator of this Rhythm season, as I mentioned before. And this song is from a point of view of someone who stayed in that hometown. Probably the love interest from this Rhythm season. Also, fun fact, apparently Taylor on one of the live chats during Evermore's release clarified that whilst the stories of Evermore are not specifically connected to the stories of folklore, in her mind, Dorothea and the other person who is a part of the story were students at the same school that James, Betty, and Augustine went to. And I think that's very cool. And I definitely see that. The small town of it all, it makes sense because those songs also have a bit of a small town vibe to them, especially Betty. I relate to Dorothea a lot, honestly. I'm a sucker for a hometown, or just in general, a small town. I don't really enjoy cities that much. I do find them less authentic in a way. So the narrator of Dorothea, in my opinion, has a point. Hey Dorothea, do you ever stop and think about me? When we were younger, down in the park, honey, making a lark of the misery. You got shiny friends since you left town. A tiny screen's the only place I see you now. And I got nothing but well wishes for you. Making a lark of the misery can mean a lot of things, but in this case, I think it's finding love in a not very happy place. Maybe they were unhappy, but they managed to make something out of it. But now she has left and found, shiny new friends, almost like shiny new toys in a way. To me, this line almost feels like shade towards the friends though, because they are shiny and they are new, but they lack the depth and the understanding of who Dorothea really is. You know, they haven't seen her in her lowest moments or when she was growing up. They didn't really get to witness her evolution. And that's why they don't really know her that much. They know the external version of Dorothea, not the internal version of Dorothea. And if you're ever tired of being known for who you know that you'll always know me. It's that contraposition of the city and the small town mindsets. The latter is actually about knowing the person and not having connections or being socially successful or relevant. It's more authentic. I think a lot of people have to sort of resort to this in order to make a career or make a name for themselves, get success. But in a way, they're sacrificing parts of themselves that help to create their actual identity. And sometimes being back near the people that actually know you is the best thing you can do in order to not fully lose your identity. This song is beautiful, really. Like, it's actually grown on me so much. I love the piano of it. I also really, really love the way that she sings the name of Dorothea, like the little vocal moment in that. I think it's very, very cute. I really, really enjoy this song, and I relate to its message, I think, a lot. And I think a lot of people actually do. Out of all of the songs, I would say that this is one of the ones that I find the most relatable on the entire project. And also the most like approachable too. Like, you have so many songs that are just like actually like heartbreaking to listen to. But Dorothea, I would say, is one of the more chill ones. Like, you just listen to it and you don't really want to cry that much, which is a good thing.
Sitting on a bench in Coney Island, wondering where did my baby go?
I love The National, and honestly, typically I don't love like collab albums from artists. I don't tend to listen to them a lot, but if Taylor ever decided to just fully do a collab album with The National, I think that would change my life, probably. Like, between this and The Alcut, which is, in my opinion, one of Taylor's best songs, just in general, and the fact that Aaron Dessner is already so involved in so many of her projects, like Evermore Folklore. He was also on Midnights and Torture Poets, so like, they know how to work together. Like, I would just like to hear that. Like, a full album of just The Alcut and Coney Island. I think that'd be fun. This song tells the story of nostalgia for a relationship that has already been lost. And it's also more so of like a dialogue song. And you know, I love that. And I think Coney Island is also the perfect example of like the Evermore sound. It sounds like Evermore. Like, this is the most quintessential Evermore song on Evermore, in my opinion, alongside Evermore, the song. I feel like none of what I just said makes sense, but hopefully you get it. I don't know. It makes sense in my head, okay? Coney Island used to be a very lively place. You know, it was full of amusement parks and other attractions. It was a fun resort. However, this was also a place that has been neglected for years, and some of the like structures on it have been taken down since, and it's mostly abandoned now. That being a setting for a relationship is like the theme of destruction that you can do in a song with a concept like referencing Coney Island is insane. If I can't relate to you anymore, then who am I related to? It's the feeling of being consumed by a relationship to the point that when it ends, you almost feel like you have no identity outside of it. And I'm sitting on a bench in Coney Island, wondering, where did my baby go? The fast times, the bright lights, the merry-go. Sorry for not making you my centerfold. She's sitting in the ruin of this relationship, like the torn around house of it, wondering where it all went wrong, kind of replaying the tapes. And that's a callback to Evermore. I just did something. They had everything, you know, the bright lights, the merry-go, the roller coasters, whatever. But then it all just vanished. She's apologizing for not making him her centerfold, which, okay, gotta admit, the first time I heard that lyric, I genuinely thought she said xenophobe or like xenophobe. I don't know how he pronounced that, but like, I don't know why I thought that, because that makes no sense. And I remember being confused and being like, what do you mean making someone your xenophobe? Like, what? And then I looked into the lyrics and I was like, okay, it's not xenophobe, it's centerfold. Got it. A centerfold is, if I understand it correctly, basically like at the middle of a magazine or like a newspaper, which contains like the most essential parts of it, the most important like news articles, whatever. And so it's almost like she didn't make him feel like a priority to her, and she didn't appreciate him enough when he was there. And do you miss the rogue who coaxed you into paradise and left you there? This tells us more about the dynamic of this relationship, in my opinion. He was more of the like the rebel type, I guess, in quotation marks. He broke the rules and made her feel alive because of that, right? Also, I love the word rogue for some reason, although that might just be my undying love for the X-Men franchise. Because like, yeah, because we were like the mall before the internet. It was the one place to be. The mischief, the gift-wrapped suburban dreams. Sorry for not winning you an arcade ring. I love these amusement park metaphors in this so much. I love that they are like reoccurring in this. And that also, to me, calls back to Willow. You know, the one prize that you cheat to win. And in this case, there was no cheating. They didn't try to win that prize. In this relationship, it seems that the effort was not equal on both sides, and it resulted in the feeling of neglect and slow destruction of this relationship. Almost maybe like a tolerated situation. The entire song just feels so like destructive. It feels like you just really survived an apocalypse and you're sitting in this like abandoned place, an abandoned amusement park of Coney Island, and just like wondering about your life's mistakes. It feels like you're actively watching a feeling die. And I don't really know how to describe it, but it just feels that way. And it's incredible to me. It's just so like, again, this is a feeling that happens in your brain. It's not necessarily the way you hear it, it's how you feel it, if that makes sense. Also, I love the contraposition of their voices. I think this song shows me how well they work together, and this like very like deep and masculine voice next to Taylor's is just everything.
House of stone, your ivy grows, and now I'm covered in you.
So Ivy is one of the best songs ever, right? Agreed, right? There's really no conversation about that, I think, to be had. And the bridge of it is one of the best bridges of her career. And I will die on that hill. These lyrics are so goddamn good that I actually would submit this song to like the Hall of Songwriters in order to show my songwriting if I was Taylor. Because I know that she submitted Blank Space, Love Story, All Too Well 10-minute version, and I think Anti-Hero and The Last Great American Dynasty. I agree with all of the picks, in my opinion, but I would have put Ivy there, probably instead of Love Story. Like, I'm sorry, like, I think Love Story shows us well what she does, but I think Love Story showcases what The Last Great American Dynasty does as well, which is the flipping of, like, a story, the kind of stereotypical country thing of, like, you present a story and then, ta-dam, it was actually me all along, or, like, there's the twist and the final chorus, everything changes. Like, it's kind of similar in the way that it goes, even though it's completely different. But I would have put Ivy there because it's just so superior. This song is about an affair of a married woman with a guy after not getting a happy ending that she would have hoped for through the marriage with another guy. And that results in her turning to infidelity with a person that actually makes her feel alive. How's one to know? I meet you where the spirit meets the bones in a faith-forgotten land. In from the snow, your touch brought forth an incandescent glow, tarnished but so grand. And this is what I mean when I say this is some of the best writing of her career, because what the fuck do you mean? I'd meet you where the spirit meets the bones is crazy. And I feel like it almost points to like a place of death, like a graveyard that could be maybe the place of a meetup. You know, like nobody would really look for them in a graveyard, I feel like. And the faith forgotten land to me is being away from being faithful to your husband. This new man gives her all the emotions that she wants, but she can fully commit to him because she's already married. You know, there are societal expectations on her. And that's why the touch is tarnished, because she can't have him fully like she would want to have him. My pain fits in the palm of your freezing hand, taking mine, but it's been promised to another. I can't stop you, putting roots in my dreamland. My house of stone, your ivy grows, and now I'm covered in you. This album has been out for like 5 years already, and I'm still not over these lyrics. Like, what do you mean? Actually, this part, I'm not even gonna like say anything because I think these lyrics speak for themselves so well. I actually don't think there's room for interpretation here. It's such a clear concept done with such incredibly poetic writing. And I'm sick to my stomach. It's so good. This as a metaphor of how he makes her feel better and how he's becoming a bigger and bigger part of her life and how he, you know, holds so much more space in her mind. And it's just like, I love that. Clover blooms in the fields. Spring breaks loose. The time is near. What would he do if he found us out? Crescent moon, coast is clear. Spring breaks loose, but so does fear. He's gonna burn this house to the ground. The time passes, the illicit affair continues, and the fear and paranoia only grows. It feels like they are sneaking out in the middle of the night out of like a castle into like a magical forest to meet in secret. It's just such a vision. So yeah, it's a fire, it's a goddamn blaze in the dark, and you started it. This affair makes her feel alive and gives her all the feels that she lacks in her current relationship, but it's also consuming her. Later, she says it's the goddamn fight of her life, and that's because of the amount of effort and the emotional stress it requires to keep it up and to play this like double front. This song is magical, and everything you hear in it lyrically is reflected in the instrumental. The kind of more secrecy feel of it all, and then you get into the bridge, you see the paranoia, you see the kind of more like frustration almost pour out. It's incredible. It's actual magic happening in your ears every time I listen to it. And it's unlike anything I've ever heard in my life. And yeah, I consider Ivy to be one of her best songs, just in general, like one of the best songs of her career. And I don't think many people would disagree with me on that, frankly.
You're a cowboy like me.
Evermore is a perfect album, right? Like, we all know that. But the tracks on the second half of this project are like redefining my definition of perfection every single time I go over them, because it's just a hit after hit. Well, not a hit after hit, just like an emotional hit after an emotional hit. This song is about a relationship between two people in this very like rich society setting almost. It feels like the relationship is in danger because of their surrounding. One cowboy going after money meets another cowboy going after money, and they fall in love. Never wanted love, just a fancy car. Now I'm waiting by the phone like I'm sitting in an airport bar. The narrator is used to prioritizing material wealth over like emotional connections, but now they are feeling so dependent on that other person. They are waiting for that call and it feels empty, like a long wait for somebody to like, you know, come out of the plane. You know, you're waiting for them at the airport and you don't know where they're gonna arrive. You're just waiting there and it feels empty. It feels like the longest time of your life. But when they finally come out of that like gate or wherever you come out on an airport, I don't know what it's called in English, but just like suddenly the world becomes more colorful. Like suddenly everything starts moving again and you feel more alive. You know, the wait is over. You're a bandit like me, eyes full of stars, hustling for the good life. Never thought I'd meet you here. It could be love. We could be the way forward, and I know I will pay for it. One bandit meets another and they fall in love. This is what I was mentioning in the beginning. They prioritize the societal position, having money and connections, and suddenly all of those priorities are out the window. And the skeletons in both our closets plotted hard to fuck this up. And the old man that I've swindled really did believe I was the one. And the ladies luncheon have their stories about when you passed through town. Oh, but that was all before I locked it down. There were so many like bumps on the road, skeletons in the closets, right? People had their rumors, but all of that feels like it was worth it. And because now she locked it down and now they are married. That cowboy is literally hers right now. I mean, literally hers, right? Like, ooh, that just gave me chills. Now you hang from my lips like the gardens of Babylon, with your boots beneath my bed. Forever is the sweetest con. They have their own world together that they live in. And forever is the promise that they make to each other. This song sounds like it would be sad. And I think partially it is. The societal expectation and the like capitalism, I guess, that we live in forces us to prioritize careers and education and monetary wealth. And it's not really fun. It feels like a competition, and it feels like a very almost inhumane environment to be in. It lacks emotion, it lacks depth. Everything has to be rational, economics, like everything has to be very, very well calculated, and there isn't really room for authenticity and like true feelings. But you can also find love that makes that hostile environment where everyone is ready to push someone down the stairs to get something seem like nothing. I love this song so much. And I also, probably my favorite part of it is the backing vocalist here being Marcus Mumford, who creates such an incredible atmosphere. It actually feels like you have like two cowboys, singing to each other. Kind of like, I just thought of Brokeback Mountain. I don't think we should be bringing up that movie when I'm talking about Taylor specifically, because so we're just gonna move on, okay?
Long story short, I survive.
Long Story Short is honestly a very relatable song, and I think it's one of the most relatable songs on the actual project to me. I've never been a part of something as like distressing as the Kimia drama was for Taylor, and like, God bless. Hopefully that never happens. But I think it's relatable regardless of what kind of battles you face in life, because when you face these battles, it might seem difficult at the moment, but in time you're gonna look at them and you're gonna have a totally different perspective at them, and you're gonna be able to say, hey, like, I survived that. I think it's kind of reassuring too, like, to hear this when you are going through a battle in your own life, and having this song as a reminder that it will get better. And I think everyone can sort of relate to Long Story Short. I definitely relate to it a lot. Specifically, like, I think high school was like a very difficult time for me, and it does feel like it was just like a long battle, specifically like around the pandemic. And then I remember second year was very difficult for me. My senior year was also not fun. I did not enjoy that experience, but like, I came out on top. I managed to get into uni, and now looking back at all those battles, like, it was worth fighting all of that. It was worth working overtime and just like trying to make it, because now I'm in a better place. And I think that's sort of the overall message of Long Story Short. The knife cuts both ways. If the shoe fits, walk in it till your high heels break. This is so interesting to me, because this means that you have like a role that you can fulfill until you have to play it, until people get bored of it, and then you have to switch it. So like, it's, to me, it's almost like using your abilities and the possibilities to the fullest whilst you still can, and then switching the shoe. That specifically, I don't know if that makes sense, but we'll roll with it. And I fell from the pedestal right down the rabbit hole. Long story short, it was a bad time. Pushed from the precipice, clung to the nearest lips. Long story short, it was the wrong guy. She got pushed off the top spot because of some dumb drama. We know that. And she resorted to the nearest lips, which I think this is likely referencing Tom Hiddleston, but also like with some more context of like Tortured Poets departments. I think I could see this line being interpreted as being about a certain someone else, if you know what I mean. Just saying. Actually, I always felt I must look better in the rear view, missing me at the golden gates they once held the keys to. And this feels like a call out. She says that she's constantly comparing the present to the past, and the past typically wins the competition in that regard, and I definitely feel that a little. And then the second verse, to me, feels like it's about the public losing control over her image when she took matters into her own hands during the Reputation era. Like around 1989, they could just say whatever the fuck they wanted about her. But that very quickly changed when Reputation came along. And since then, they haven't really restored the control they used to have of her. I feel like now it's sort of like I can see effort being made in like controlling the narrative of Taylor Swift with all of the different controversies that the life of a showgirl has caused. Totally for no reason, by the way. And I made a video about that. So yeah, I definitely think that this is what it's referencing. And honestly, the more control she has, the better. Past me, I want to tell you not to get lost in these petty feelings. Your nemesis will defeat themselves before you get the chance to swing. This is a life lesson that she's giving us. And with her experience, I believe this wholeheartedly. This song always to me felt like a pat on the back in a way, like you got this, like you're gonna make it through, you're gonna be fine, and you're gonna look back at it and you're gonna be able to like laugh about it or just like say, well, I made it through that and now I'm better. And I think it's one of my favorite songs because of that. Like it's one of the few songs on Evermore that is actually like happy in a way. It gives you a life lesson that actually makes you feel like you can do it. And that I always appreciated.
You're alive in my head.
Talking about this song is going to be pretty difficult, I would say, specifically to not like cry. I think that's going to be difficult, but I'm going to try my best. This song is devastating. I'll keep this section of the video a little bit shorter and actually focus on the story and the meaning of the song rather than dissecting all the lyrics of it, because I feel like it's more so important to talk about the message of it and what we can, take away from it. Marjorie talks about a loved one passing away and feeling like you could have spent your time with them better, appreciated them more. But the only thing that is left of them now is the memory that you have of them in your own head that you used to keep them alive. That someone in this case is Taylor's grandmother, Marjorie Finlay. She was an opera singer and her voice is actually featured on this song. And it was actually also featured on the Eras tour where Marjorie was one of the songs on the Evermore set list. When I first discovered that fact, I sobbed violently. Like I was not okay. That might be one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Like it's such a beautiful way of honoring the memory of a loved one. I genuinely, it just always moves my heart. It's so, so beautiful. And I complained the whole way there, the car ride back and up the stairs. I should have asked you questions. I should have asked you how to be. This to me encapsulates the entire song so well. Wishing you would have used your time with someone better before they were gone and resorting to cherishing the memories you have of them instead. I don't think you hear songs like these often. And I think there is a reason for that. I think it's very difficult to write about the subject of death, specifically when it comes to like a loved one passing or a friend or whoever. But whenever these songs happen, I always feel like they almost like help to possibly deal with grief. They almost tell you how to function. These people, they might go away, but they're never really truly gone because they stay alive in your head. And the best thing you can do is think about them and keep the memory of them alive. And if I didn't know better, I think you were singing to me now. By the way, this is the part where we hear Marjorie's voice in the background.
Singing to me now.
And this was also the part where we heard it during the Eras tour. And that might be the single most beautiful thing I've ever heard in a song.
I don't need your closure.
All right, everybody, let's talk about the pans and the pots of closure. Or rather, the very intentional and smart production trick. I love when production lends itself into storytelling and music. I think that happens often with artists who have like a very, very strong artistic vision, and Taylor is always one of them. This song is incredible in that regard. The entirety of Evermore has those tricks, has that production leading into the storytelling, but I think Closure stands the heaviest on that specific usage of production. And let me explain. This song to me ties back to happiness. It's about a relationship that has ended, but it has a slightly different take on it. Whilst happiness was from the point of view of someone in the middle of that breakup and someone who found it difficult to imagine a life post that breakup and imagine themselves moving on. Closure is from the perspective of someone who is kind of in the process of moving on and is happier now that the relationship is ended. It's also clear that they realize that they don't need the closure from the other person. They don't want to relieve them of this guilt, because why would they want to? Like, if you hurt me, you're gonna sit in it. Kind of almost feels sarcastic in places, the way that she says that she doesn't want his closure. Like, it feels sarcastic to me. And that's where the pots and pans come in my opinion. It's intentional. You have this mess of a noise in the background underneath a very soft piano melody. This is inner peace. You hear all the shit from the outside, but you manage to not let it in too much. Like, you hear it, you notice it, but you are able to focus on what really matters, and that is your well-being. The shit in question here to me is partially the guy looking for closure. Like, if he had his own song on this record, his own like closure, it would just be the pans and pots, and it would lack the piano, because he clearly doesn't have that inner peace. He needs closure in order to achieve it, but she's not gonna give him it. And that is because she managed to move on without forgiving. You know, as a certain pop star once said, you don't have to forget and you don't have to forgive in order to move on. I know I'm just a wrinkle in your new life. Staying friends would iron it out so nice. Guilty, guilty, reaching out across the sea that you put between you and me. But it's fake and it's oh so unnecessary. And this is the sarcasm that I was talking about earlier. She almost laughs at the fakeness and desperation of his actions. She sees right through his intentions and is not willing to play ball with him. You are at fault for putting this sea between us, so now you're gonna learn how to swim in it without me. This song is so good once you realize the concept of it, but also it's just very, very good. Like, I will never get the closure hate. Yes, it is a jump scare, but besides that, it's also a very, very beautifully written song, and I always liked closure. There was never a point in my life where I didn't. To me, closure feels like it could be a closer of the album, but we have one more song to talk about, and that is, of course, Evermore.
This pain wouldn't be for evermore.
I think this might be my favorite closer in her entire discography. I think there are some that are very strong. I specifically think of like Mastermind and Begin Again as well, but this one stands on its own. I think the way that it wraps everything up and the way that it tackles the theme of healing and depression and kind of moving on, it feels like a summation of everything we talked about in this project. It tackles this seemingly unending period of darkness and depression where it feels like the pain is going to be for evermore. You feel like it will never end, but then it does. The pain isn't forevermore, and months will pass, but one day you will be better. I recently listened to this when I was in a backseat of a car and we were driving through like a very dark forest. It was like the evening, you know, it was like middle of autumn. Actually, I think it was the beginning of November this year. And that was also the moment where I decided that I wanted to make an Evermore video, because I had a full-on religious experience in that backseat of a car. I felt like I was going to ascend because of this song. It was crazy. The only thing that stopped me from levitating in that car was the roof of the car. If that roof wasn't there, I would have just flown out of it. And I am not joking. Also, Bon Iver, I will catch your ass for that bitch. Like, criminal. I replay my footsteps on each stepping stone, trying to find the one where I went wrong. Writing letters addressed to the fire. She's fixated on the past, trying to find where she went wrong. And that second verse just, oof. It almost reminds me of like adding fuel to fire, but instead we are writing letters to it. They're gonna be destroyed, but they're also gonna fuel the fire. It's gonna grow bigger. And I think that is the symbol of how depression can be all-consuming. I rewind the tape, but all it does is pause. On the very moment, all was lost. This happens in the December verse. She finds moments in her past that she fixates on because they are so bad and so horrible. And I think this is also very relatable. Like, we all have these moments that we wish we could forget, but because they're so bad, they just refuse to go away. And this is one of the less serious comparisons, I guess, but this really reminds me of the second Twilight movie, the Grey November and then Hey December. Like, it's specifically the scene where like Bella is sitting in front of the window and you see like the months and days pass and you have like November and then like well, I forget what months they were, but like still, I think it's a very unserious comparison, but like I think she would relate to Evermore. And then we get to this bridge, which, God. The first part of it is the narrator going through the despair, and it feels very like ever present. And then in the second part of it, Taylor starts to chime in, and we see more so of a like an inner dialogue in a way. She's almost talking to this other person that seems to not be in her life anymore. In the cracks of light, I dreamed of you. It was real enough to get me through. It's a vision. It kind of calls back to Coney Island, I'd say, and seeing the face before the accident, that line specifically. It's a ghost that keeps on haunting her and reminding her of what she lost, of the pain. But then that vision also helps her to move on, to heal. It's almost like a comfort person, even though they're no longer in her life anymore. And then we get to the final chorus. And I was catching my breath, floors of the cabin creaking under my step. And I couldn't be sure. I had a feeling so peculiar. This pain wouldn't be for evermore. Ending an album with a lyric like this is criminal, crazy, lock her up in jail. I remember listening to this for the first time. I will never forget that experience, and just getting to that line and just needing to like sit with myself for like 20 minutes. It was like middle of the night when I was listening to it, because it was, again, middle of the pandemic. I had nothing else to do. So I was sitting at like 3 a.m. listening to this album on the headphones, having actual like coming to Gods over there, like multiple ones actually. And then that part came on, and I just paused the music, because of course Spotify plays another song right after you finish listening to an album. So I just pause it, and I sit there in that darkness for like 20-30 minutes trying to compute what the fuck I just heard. It's so beautiful. The imagery of it is so clear. The cabin's floor creaking under her step. The aesthetic is so clear. The message is so clear. The sound touches your soul. And I think that's ultimately why I love this album so much. I respond so well to the aesthetic of Evermore. It immediately shows up in your brain, and you get it from like the jump. But then it also matches so well with the themes of the album. You have the autumn and the winter where, you know, the leaves fall and everything dies, and, you know, days become shorter. There's less light. So your light, and because of that, your life also becomes darker. You start contemplating like darker thoughts, but then the pain passes. It's not forevermore. It's a cycle. I love that this project is so close to folklore, but then again, it's nothing like folklore. To me, folklore is life. It's spring, it's summer. It's contemplating about a lot of things, but everything feels like there's that will to live, you know, there's light there. Meanwhile, Evermore is death. To me, folklore is life and living, and Evermore is death and moving on. They're kind of like yin yang in a way, despite the fact that they do sound similar, but in a way, the themes that they tackle couldn't be more different. I will always love this project. It means the world to me, and I really, really enjoyed yapping about it for probably way too long. But that's kind of what comes with the territory of my videos. I always talk a little too much. Like at this point, I've already like made peace with the fact that I'm probably not gonna be making a lot of videos that are gonna be shorter than 1 hour, because that's just kind of how it happens with me. I'm sorry. If you made it till the end though, I want to thank you so much for doing so. I would show you my album ranking in full, but this is another album that I just kind of can't do that for. Like I didn't do it for Folklore, and like I didn't do it for Everybody Scream by Florence and the Machine, where I reacted to it on my channel. So instead, I'm just going to show you my top 5. It's going to be on the screen now. I actually haven't really thought about what's going to be in there. I know what my number 1 is going to be, absolutely. The rest, I'm going to figure out, hopefully. You guys won't scream at me. Actually, I don't think you're gonna have as many reasons to scream at me, because most of the ranking you're not gonna see. But honestly, I don't think the rest of the ranking matters, because every song on this album is actual perfection. And I could see an argument for every song on this album being someone's favorite. And yeah, that's a rare case for music, in my opinion. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, definitely let me know in the comments below. You can also let me know which albums you would like to see me tackle in the coming months. I'm definitely planning on making this a little bit of a series where every month I'm gonna be doing like one video of each, like one maybe more Eurovision related, one maybe more like music related, one pop culture, one maybe like a reaction or something like, you know, that sort of type of planning is definitely something that I'm considering. So definitely let me know if there are any projects that you would like to hear me talk about. I'm definitely kind of maybe considering doing a video in this style about Stick Season by Noah Khan, because I know that the next Noah Khan album is coming pretty soon. It's happening probably in the beginning of next year. So I'm gonna kind of think about it. And if there are any albums that you would like to see me react to, definitely also let me know. And yeah, definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I have a lot of very, very fun video ideas coming in December. December is gonna be the month of like the most original and fun videos, in my opinion. I have already started working on some of them. They're so much fun, and I'm sure you're gonna enjoy them a lot if you enjoy my content. So definitely make sure to stick around for those. And yeah, just in general, as my parting words, go and stream Evermore, go into a forest, or I don't know, light a candle, light a candle, like cover yourself with a blanket, have some tea, listen to Evermore. It's gonna be great. Evermore is a gorgeous album. I love it so much. It's one of the reasons why I even love music this much. I think it really changed my perception of how we listen to music, as well as folklore did. So yeah, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna edit this video. It's probably gonna be like an hour and 30 minutes, knowing me, but we'll manage. And thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week for this time a Eurovision themed video where we're gonna revisit Eurovision 2024. It's gonna be very fun. And yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.